The coast is now clear for the All Progressives Congress APC candidates for Saturday's governorship election in Osun State. Governor Gboyega Oyetola to contest the poll. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed a suit seeking disqualification of Governor Oyetola as the APC candidate for the July 16 election. Delivering the judgment, Justice Inyang Ekwo ruled that the plaintiff, Moshood Adeoti, failed to support his claims with relevant laws. Hence, he showed no course of action in the suit, which makes it a gross abuse of court process. Meanwhile, the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Yojayu, the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and others stormed Osogbo, the state capital, for the mega rally in support of its candidate, Senator Ademola Adeleke. Bikuru, what does this tell us? Considering the fact that the court has said this is a waste of time and an abuse of court processes.
Yes, Governor Oyetola was an active member of the the caretaker committee of the APC, and he is the governor, or he was the governor representing the Southwest. But the truth is, so many cases that came up, some of them seeking to render actions taken by the caretaker committee a nullity, because in their view, the constitution of the APC did not allow for a caretaker committee to run its affairs. Those cases did not succeed in court, because once you must make the chairman of the committee, Malabune, you must join him in those suits, and he had immunity. So because of the immunity that he had, a good number of those courts declined jurisdiction. So I am not surprised that this case went the way it was, because clearly, in the view of the judge, the Oyetola had not contravened any law, because the position that he held was not in permanent capacity. That was the same argument he used in previous lawsuits pertaining to the CCAPC, So the coast is clear for him to contest. As far as the judge is concerned, he had not contravened any law. Even the caretaker committee, the position was not recognized by the constitution of the APC. Therefore, in the view of the judge, he had not infringed on any portion of the APC constitution. So that's why the governor has been given the go-ahead to contest. Well, I really am not surprised, because other cases went the same way. Either the judge would decline a jurisdiction or make an order allowing the defendants to proceed and contest. So,
all right, Adeoti, I do apologize. Adekunle, if Adeoti decides to appeal, to what effect, since the election is just a few days away?
Well, even if he decides to appeal, that won't be about this election anymore, because it will take time before the court rules on whatever matter. But when you look at the plank of the argument from Adeoti, the only thing that I see there is that you are claiming that by law, he was supposed to have resigned before this and this, before the primaries and all that. And some of these resignations were actually done and documents tendered. But, politicians are a different breed. And they can argue anything. And, but it is the wisdom of the court to decide. And in this case, the court has decided. So after the election, if, in the opinion of the, Adeoti, he decided to go on appeal, that will take long before the decision is, and that decision comes up.
All right, gentlemen, before we move into the dynamics and intrigues that may play out in this election, let's join TVC News, senior news correspondent Femi Akode, who is in Osun. Hello, Femi, are you there? All right, good evening. All right, tell us what's the mood like where you are at the moment, INEC's preparations, and what security is looking like.
Well, the mood is that of politics, politicking all the way, and for the Independent National Electoral Commission, the umpire in this process. So far, they have been able to tick all the boxes in the timetable and schedule for the Osun State governorship election. What is left for them now to do is, of course, the biggest event in this whole schedule, which is the conduct of the governorship election on Saturday, July 16th. We saw today that non-sensitive materials were deployed to the various local governments across the state, 30 local governments across the state. And later today, also sensitive materials were also deployed after representatives of political parties, major stakeholders, domestic and international observers had come to the INEC office to monitor, closely monitor this process, because INEC has to ensure that the whole of this activity is done in a manner that is seen to be credible and also fair and acceptable by all stakeholders in this process. All of that has been done. We have also seen a movement of security operatives around town as a sign for residents to know that indeed their safety will be guaranteed during the election. But you know that again, in spite of all of this movement, we have seen the concerns by Yaga Africa. Yaga is one of the leading civil society organizations involved in electoral reforms in the country. You know, they have raised concerns about the security situation in Osun State. They fear that if the security agencies do not step up to the plate, that with the security, with the atmosphere right now in Osun State, it might impact on the ballot, because you know, they are worried about the increasing cases of cult clashes around the state, attacks on politicians, political parties, and even in some cases, political campaign rallies have turned violent. They are now asking security agencies to indeed come up with a very good strategy that would give the voters that assurance that their ballots will be protected, and even the voting area and the whole state generally will be safe for them on election day. There are other concerns raised by Yaga, especially with the expansion of voting units to create access for registered voters. They are concerned that in some particular polling units, there are more than 750 registered voters, and you know, 750 is the threshold. They say that in some polling units, in one polling unit in particular, there are more than 3,000 registered voters, and in about 8 polling units, they have about 2,000 registered voters. They say this would impact on the whole process, especially when it comes to logistics and indeed the timing, because you know, we have seen in some cases where the bimodal voter accreditation system malfunctions, and if it happens in this situation, you know, a lot of these registered voters might be disenfranchised, and so they are asking INEC to revisit that polling unit expansion system that they carried out a while ago, and ensure that there's an even distribution of registered voters to polling units and reduce congestion at some particular polling unit. We expect to see in places like Osogbo, that has the highest number of polling units, we expect to see that kind of congestion in some polling units, and in other places like Ife Central, with about 215 polling units, we expect to see also overcrowding in some polling units. You know, Yaga Africa is saying that this is an issue of concern that INEC must look into before the election. They're also saying that yes, indeed, INEC has come out to say that there's about 75% rate of PVC collection in Osun State, but they are asking that on the eve of election, INEC should publish a breakdown of the number of PVCs collected per polling unit. This would help both domestic and international observers understand how people voted, how and also be able to also tabulate the voter turnout, and also indeed know if indeed there was maybe apathy and all of those factors considered during election. Some of these issues are now on the table, and that is what is forming a topic of discussion for the civil society organization, and hopefully INEC will heed to their call, and we'll see what will happen in the coming days. But you know, campaigns for political parties will officially end today, and we have seen them make that last-minute move, crisscrossing the length and breadth of the state to woo registered voters, sway them in their favor, and hopefully on election day to see what the outcome of all their efforts will be. Jumoke.
From your interaction with INEC officials and even election observers, Yaga and the rest of them, do you think that something could be done differently to address the mortal shame of vote buying?
Well, INEC is particularly concerned about that, and even Yaga Africa put the blame on the doorstep of security agencies. You know, it's up to the security agencies this time to ensure that when they cite anything that look like vote buying, the perpetrators are apprehended immediately, because that will send a strong signal around that polling unit and indeed the entire state that this time vote buying will not be tolerated, because these are some of the issues, or this is even the major issue, the main issue that marred the Ekiti State governorship election, because INEC and indeed Yaga Africa and the civil society organizations are concerned about this voter buying, because you know it takes away legitimacy from the mandate of given to the or to whoever becomes whoever becomes the favorable candidate at the poll. But you know, all political parties and politicians have become desperate as elections and the electoral system keeps improving. You know, they say that politicians are also getting smarter and more clever, and to them, the only way to go is by vote buying. At previous elections, we have seen the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission come to polling units. We have seen them make arrests and all of that. At the last Ekiti governorship election, we saw them, they made some arrests, and they said, INEC said investigations are still going on. And when those investigations are concluded, those perpetrators will be handed over to, of course, security agencies to be prosecuted according to the electoral law. But that is yet to happen. A lot of people had expected that if this prosecution had been done, maybe that would serve as a deterrent to would-be vote buyers in the Osun governorship election. But you know, we'll wait to see how security agencies will handle this issue of vote buying this time around in Osun State.
All right, TVC senior correspondent Femi Akonde speaking there. Thank you very much, Femi, for the update. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, let's get on with our conversation. Unlike what we saw in Ekiti, today, the PDP is holding its mega rally, and the national leadership, we've seen national leadership of the PDP showing solidarity for the candidates at the mega rally, I think, still going on. How interesting does this get ahead of Saturday?
Yes, it's interesting that they are having their own mega rally days after the APC had theirs. APC had theirs on Tuesday. Now we've had the PDP mega rally today. There is a way of getting in the face of the voter, telling the voter that, look, we represent the better choice, you know, for you to make. Better than the PDP, the APC. APC is the ruling party. We've seen what they can do. We think we are better. That is the message from the PDP, and it's easy to get that message across. Tell people, look, is your life better off in 2022 than it was before PDP lost power? You know, so that is their dominant message, and of course, they had a tumultuous crowd at the rally today, but as you and I know, crowds at rallies do not necessarily translate to electoral victory. So on Saturday, the people of Osun State will decide who their next governor will be.
All right, Adekunle. Now, apart from the two major combatants we had 4 years ago, we now have the likes of Yusuf Lasso of represented Labour Party and others. What are the odds looking like this time around?
You know, the intrigues that shaped the last election are a bit different now. You know, this Governor Oyetola will be is campaigning on his record. The first time, he was he campaigned on the record of the occupant of that seat and his party. You get my point? This time around, he's standing alone on his own credentials, what he has been able to do in the almost 4 years that he's been in office. Now, that time, it was between him and the PDP candidate, even though there were other candidates like the man that just went to court, also wasn't. So, but this time around, you have like Osun Central, where the governor comes from. You now have somebody around that axis too, which is the former deputy speaker, Lasso, who is contesting on the platform of Labour Party. So that's one thing around that. Then you have Ogunbiyi, who attempted to, win the PDP ticket in the last election, which didn't happen. Now he's on, I can't remember his party now. He's also contesting. He's from the same zone with Adeleke. So, but when you look at the whole thing, it's going to be a very, very tough election. I can say it again and again. And whoever wins, we know that he has put in a lot of hard work, because Osun is a very complex, politics. When you try to understand, in Nigeria, the state stands out as the highest number of urbanized communities.